I'm Sterling with Tannus. Today, in this video, I'm going to show you how to pick the right wheel set for your bike and how to know which wheel set will work with your bike. Before I get into the important parts of this, one thing you should know is that wheel sets are very complex. Sizing is very difficult. So please pay attention to this video to make sure that you get the right wheel set type for your bike. Okay, there are 5 key things that you need to know to make sure that you pick the right wheel set. First, brake type. Second, axle type. Third, axle spacing. Fourth, Freehub versus freewheel compatibility. And fifth, tire size. First, brake compatibility. Almost all bikes have one of 2 kinds of brakes, disc brakes and rim brakes. Rim brakes are brakes that clasp on the rim itself. There's a surface on the rim that is machined to give proper braking. Note that not all rims are rim brake compatible. Disc brakes, on the other hand, have a separate rotor like the one shown here. These are common on newer bikes. You'll need to know which brake style you have before moving on. If your bike has one disc brake and one rim brake, please contact our customer support team as they will have to help you find a custom wheel set for this application. 2. Axle type. Axles are tricky. The easiest way to know which axle type will work for your bike is a quick Google search for the year and model of your bike. Traditionally, bikes have either a 9mm quick release, pictured here, or a 10mm threaded axle. Fortunately, these two are interchangeable, so if you have a quick release on your bike now, you can put a threaded axle on your bike, and vice versa. Since 2015 or so, high-end bikes have been starting to come with a new style called a through axle. This is very different, as there is a complete separate axle that will be either 12mm thick or 15mm thick, depending on your style of bike. For this video, we'll only be talking about 12mm through axles in the through axle section, as we do not make anything compatible with a 15mm through axle. To help you on your Google search with any of these, references like QR designate quick release and TA means through axle. 3. Front and rear axle spacing. Axle spacing is tricky. Axle spacing has changed over the years and there are several variations, so it's important that you order the right size. I'm going to teach you the best practice of axle spacing, and if you have any questions, please contact us or a bike shop to help you figure out which will work the best for you. The best way to break this down is into axle type and brake type. I will reference 2 kinds of bikes here, road bikes and hybrid bikes. Road bikes have the drop handlebars. The hybrid bikes have a standard body positioning, but have road bike-like tires. In these next steps, I'll reference those 2 to help give you an idea for what kind of bike you have and what size of axle will be best for your bike. Type 1, quick release road bikes. Road bikes with quick releases have 2 styles, disc brakes and rim brakes. Roughly 99% of road bikes with quick release wheels and rim brakes have a 100mm front axle and a 130mm rear axle spacing. All quick release road bikes with disc brakes have 100mm front spacing and 135mm rear spacing. Type 2, threaded axle road bikes. Road bikes with threaded axles will almost always have rim brakes. There are 2 types here, and you will have to measure to be sure. There is a 100mm front axle and 130mm rear axle combination, as well as a 100mm front axle and 120mm rear axle combination. The 120mm combination is most common on bikes with 1 gear or fixies, whereas the 100mm and 130mm configuration is most common on bikes with multiple gears. Type 3, quick release or threaded axle hybrid bikes. Almost all quick release hybrid bikes, doesn't matter what brake type it has, will have a 100mm front and 135mm rear spacing. If your hybrid bike tends to have more road bike characteristics, then please Google check your bike type, as it may have a 130mm rear spacing. But for most hybrid bikes, almost all of them have a 135mm rear spacing if it has a quick release axle. Type 4, through axle road bikes. All road bikes with a through axle will be disc brake and have a 12 by 100mm front and 12 by 142 millimeter rear axle spacing. There is no variations other than this. Type 5, through axle, hybrid, or gravel bikes. Some hybrid or gravel bikes have a through axle that has a 15 millimeter front axle depicted as 15 by 100 millimeters or 15 by 110 millimeters on Google. If you have any wheel with a 15 millimeter axle thickness, we do not make a wheelset compatible with this size. Fortunately, for hybrid and gravel bikes, if you have the 12 millimeter axle type, then it will work with our Elite Pro wheelset. One thing to note with our disc wheels is our Elite wheelsets are all going to be quick release with a 100 millimeter front axle and a 135 millimeter rear axle spacing, and are all rim and disc brake compatible. With our Elite Pro wheelsets, all of the disc brake options are disc only. They are not rim brake compatible, and they are all 12 by 100 front and 12 by 142 rear spacing. 4. Freehub versus freewheel types. If your wheel has this type of lock ring, it is a freehub. If it has this type of lock ring, it is a freewheel. Please contact us directly if you have a freewheel, as we'll have to custom order this, as all of our wheel sets are only freehub compatible, with the exception of our fixie wheel sets. The fixie wheel set is a different wheel with a different spacing. So if you have a 130 or 135 mil spacing, please be sure to check for the freehub versus freewheel compatibility. A rule of thumb is the freehub is going to be common on any bike newer than 1995 with an original MSRP of more than $500. This is just a rule of thumb, but works on most bikes. 5. Tire size. Tire size is the last thing you need to know. On the side of your current tire will be a number that looks like this. It will say 700x28 or something like 26x 2.0 or any variation of these. The first number is the diameter of the wheel, so the 700 or the 26 in these scenarios. The second number is your width of the tire. The first number has to match exactly with what our wheel set is. So if it says 700, you must order a 700. Same with 26. The second number can have some variance. Just know that it may be wider or narrower than your current wheel depending on what size you order. So if your wheel says 25, but we only have a 28 compatible wheel, just know it will be 3 millimeters wider than your current tire. You may want to check your frame clearance on your current tires to make sure it can accommodate a wider tire if you decide on a wider tire. One note with this, if you can't find a standard size on your tire, look for what's called the ETRTO. This is a 5-digit number with a dash in the middle somewhere. It will either have 2 digits with a dash then 3 digits or vice versa. Use our tire finder on our website or Google to figure out what this size of tire would be in standard nomenclature. If you have any questions on wheel set sizes, please start by Googling your year and make of bike or taking it into a bike shop. Our customer support team loves helping, but it's almost impossible to know exactly what wheel specifications you have without having your bike in front of us. So your best case scenario, look on Google for what type of bike you have. Second, take it to a bike shop. Third, give us a call and we'll see what we can do, but we can't guarantee that we'll be able to make it work with your bike. Lastly, if you don't see a style or type that will fit with your bike, check out our website as the Tannus Airless tires can mount onto almost any rim. Good luck out there. Enjoy the ride.